The Friday night crowd at O'Malley's was as predictable as a rerun of a bad sitcom. Same faces, same beers, same tired jokes about the boss from hell. And as usual, I was right in the thick of it, pretending to find it all hilarious. Daniel Reed, tech mogul extraordinaire, blending in like a misplaced puzzle piece in a landscape painting. You wouldn't know, looking at me nursing a domestic logger, that I owned half the damn tech startups in this city, including the one where most of these chuckleheads punched a clock. That was the point, of course. See, there's a certain charm, I guess, in playing the everyman. Keeps you grounded. Plus, the look on people's faces when they do find out? Priceless. It's like watching a goldfish suddenly realize it's swimming in a shark tank. O'Malley's was the unofficial HQ of our little friend group, though I use the term loosely. There was Mark, the perpetually single accountant, whining about his dating app fails. Sarah, the kindergarten teacher, always ready with a story about unruly 5-year-olds. And then there was Ryan, he thinks he's my best friend. He's a decent guy, I suppose. A bit clueless, a bit easily led, but loyal in his own way. He was currently regaling Mark with a detailed and probably heavily embellished account of his recent promotion at the company. My company, of course. I just smiled and nodded, occasionally interjecting with a supportive, "That's great, man." The irony wasn't lost on me. Ryan bragging about climbing the corporate ladder in a company I basically owned. But hey, who was I to burst his bubble? He needed this. He needed to feel important. Little did he know he was about to be promoted all the way to unemployment. But that's a story for another chapter. And then there was her, Emma. She was across the room, laughing at something Mark said, her dark hair cascading down her shoulders. Even in the dim, beer-soaked atmosphere of O'Malley's, she managed to shine. Beautiful, ambitious, and, well, let's just say she had a very clear idea of what she wanted in life. And apparently, what she didn't want was a broke guy. I took another swig of my beer, trying not to stare. Years I'd been harboring this thing for her. Trying to play it cool, trying to be the nice guy. And where had that gotten me? Nowhere. Zilch. Nada. She barely registered my existence, except as that sweet but slightly pathetic guy who was always around. The worst part? I actually liked her. I liked her ambition, her drive, her sharp wit. It was just, her priorities were a tad skewed. She saw the world through a very specific lens, one that seemed to magnify dollar signs and minimize everything else. Tonight, though? Tonight was going to be different. Tonight, I was going to take a shot. What did I have to lose? A bit of pride? Please, I had enough money to buy a pride factory. The worst that could happen was she'd laugh in my face. Spoiler alert, that's exactly what happened. But hey, at least I'd know for sure, right? Besides, the way I saw it, even if I failed tonight, it was just the opening act of a much bigger, much more satisfying performance. A performance where the stage was set, the players were in place, and the audience was about to get a front row seat to the greatest revenge play this side of Wall Street. And I, my friends, was the writer, director, and star. So, another Friday night at O'Malley's? It was showtime. Okay, pep talk time. You got this, Reed. Just be cool, be smooth, be not you. Easier said than done, especially after 3 watered-down lagers. But hey, liquid courage, right? It was now or never. Emma was heading towards the restrooms, a perfect opportunity to intercept and, well, say something resembling human speech. I took a deep breath, straightened my perfectly ordinary button-down shirt, and casually strolled in her direction. "Hey, Emma," I said, trying to sound like I hadn't rehearsed the line a million times in my head. "Heading for a refill?" Smooth, real smooth. I internally cringed. She smiled, a polite, almost pitying smile. Something like that. Needed a break from Mark's accounting jokes. You know how it is. I chuckled, trying to mirror her relaxed posture. "Yeah, I get it. So, hey, listen, I wanted to talk to you about something." My palms were sweating. I probably looked like I was about to ask her to co-sign a loan, not confess my undying affection. She raised an eyebrow, her expression a mixture of curiosity and mild apprehension. Okay, shoot. And here we go, the moment of truth. Well, I started, clearing my throat. We've been friends for a while now, right? And I really value our friendship, but I guess lately I've been feeling like it's more than just friendship for me. I paused, waiting for some kind of reaction. Anything. She just stared back, her expression unreadable. I know this might be coming out of nowhere, and I totally understand if you don't feel the same way. I wanted to be honest with you. I have feelings for you, Emma. And I have for a while. I didn't know if you will ever going to like someone like me back because what can I offer you? I am just a regular guy. There. I said it. The words were out there, hanging in the stale, smoky air like a bad karaoke note. I braced myself for rejection, prepared for the awkward silence, ready to retreat with my tail between my legs. But I wasn't prepared for what actually came next. It was far worse than I could have ever imagined. God, I'm such an idiot. All of this planning, all of this waiting for a moment to confess, all of the bottled up emotions to be poured out in one go, and for what? A shot down by the woman I so dearly admired. It was like I have no right to pursue someone, just because I was afraid of what would happen. And it certainly came crashing down once she was about to speak her thoughts on the matter. The air seemed to thicken, the bar noise fading into a muffled buzz. I braced myself, expecting something. A polite decline, maybe. A gentle letdown. What I got was a tactical nuke to the ego. Emma actually laughed. A high-pitched, almost incredulous laugh that echoed through the suddenly silent space around us. You? Seriously, Daniel? The words hit me harder than they should have. It wasn't just the rejection. It was the disdain dripping from every syllable, like I was some kind of charity case. I'm sorry, are you serious? I wanted to say something back, but I was completely stunned. The words were forming in my mind, but I can't seem to produce any of those words. Everything was spinning around, and I can't make up what was going on. I watched her as she was turning back with a face full of disgust, and I could almost hear the venom coming out of her mouth as she spoke. Daniel, I don't do broke guys, she announced, loud enough for a few heads to turn in our direction. You're sweet, but losers aren't my type. And if it weren't for the fact that I am a millionaire, I would have just stood there and felt as miserable as a man can be. But unfortunately, she did not know, which made all the more devastating. The broke guy's part hung in the air, a neon sign flashing my perceived inadequacy to everyone within earshot. I could feel my face burning, the shame rising from my stomach like bile. She wasn't done. Oh no, Emma was just getting warmed up. Ryan, on the other hand, she continued, glancing towards my unsuspecting friend. Ryan is going places. He has ambition, something you clearly lack. The casual cruelty of it all was breathtaking. I wanted to disappear, to burrow a hole in the floor and crawl away. But I stood there, frozen, as the laughter started. It began as a few scattered chuckles, quickly growing into a chorus of amusement. Mark, Sarah, even Ryan were all laughing. At me. The room spun. My carefully constructed facade of regular guy crumbled into dust, exposing the raw, wounded ego underneath. The silence after her words was deafening, and the next words that were supposed to come out of my mouth can no longer be produced. The emotions bottled up inside me was becoming too much to bear. I just nodded, a tight, forced smile plastered on my face. Right, I managed to choke out. Well, good to know. And then I turned and walked away, leaving Emma standing there, basking in the glow of her casual cruelty. The laughter followed me, a constant reminder of my public humiliation. But beneath the shame and the anger, a cold, hard resolve was forming. She wanted ambition? I'd show her ambition. She wanted success? I'd drown her in it. She just didn't realize it yet. But she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind getting rejected. It's part of life, and normally I would gracefully brush it off. But the way she did it really rubbed me wrong. And I, Daniel Reed, was going to make her pay for it. A few weeks? That's all it took. A few weeks for Emma to upgrade as she probably saw it. The evidence was everywhere. Instagram posts, Facebook updates, even the damn water cooler at work. Suddenly, Ryan, the perpetually complaining mid-level manager, was the star of Emma's carefully curated life. Date night with my ambitious man. Hash power couple hash goals. Read one particularly nauseating post. The picture? Emma and Ryan, looking sickeningly happy, in front of some overpriced restaurant downtown. Ambitious? Ryan? The guy whose biggest ambition used to be snagging the last donut in the break room? Please. I scrolled through the comments, suppressing the urge to vomit. You guys are perfect together. Relationship goals. So happy for you, Emma. The sycophancy was astounding. The real kicker? Ryan knew. He knew I had a thing for Emma. He knew how she'd humiliated me, and yet there he was, grinning like an idiot, basking in the glow of her shallowness. Best friend my ass. I caught snippets of their conversations at the occasional group gathering. Ryan's been working so hard, Emma would gush, loud enough for me to hear. He's going to be running the place in no time. Ryan would just nod, puffing out his chest, completely oblivious to the irony. I wanted to laugh. I really did. But all I could feel was this cold, simmering anger. It wasn't just jealousy. It was betrayal and a healthy dose of morbid amusement. They had no idea what was coming. They thought they were playing the game, but they were just pawns in my carefully crafted plan. Ryan, bless his clueless heart, still thought we were buddies. He'd even come up to me, patting me on the back with a smug grin. Hey man, things are really looking up. Emma's great, the company is great, life is great. I'd just smile back, a tight, almost predatory smile. That's fantastic, Ryan. Really happy for you. Inside, I was thinking, just you wait. I was patient. I could afford to be. I had the resources, the power, and the burning desire to make them regret ever crossing me. Emma thought she'd found the fast track to success. She thought she'd upgraded to a life of luxury and ambition. She was wrong. She'd just signed a contract with the devil. And the devil, in this case, drove a perfectly ordinary sedan and pretended to be a regular guy on Friday nights at O'Malley's. But that was about to change. The games were over, and it was time for her to truly discover what exactly I was capable of. So let's strap ourselves in, Emma, because the ride's about to get bumpy. 1 year, 12 months, 365 days of meticulous planning. And it all culminated in this: Emma and Ryan's wedding reception. A gaudy, over-the-top affair held at some swanky country club that probably cost more to rent for a night than I'd spent on my own perfectly adequate house. The irony was almost unbearable. Here I was, Daniel Reed, the architect of their impending doom, forced to smile and clap along with the rest of the well-wishers. Talk about a contrasting identity. The regular guy sipping champagne while the puppet master pulled the strings. It was a performance worthy of an Oscar, if I do say so myself. The reception was a blur of forced smiles, awkward small talk, and mediocre hors d'oeuvres. I made a point of congratulating Ryan, shaking his hand with a genuine-seeming smile. "Congratulations, man. You look happy." He beamed back, oblivious as ever. "Thanks, Dan. It's the best day of my life." Just wait, I thought, the dark amusement bubbling beneath the surface. The night is still young. Emma, of course, couldn't resist a few digs. She floated by, resplendent in her ridiculously expensive wedding dress, her eyes sparkling with triumph. "Daniel, so glad you could make it," she said, her voice dripping with saccharine sweetness. "It means so much to us." "Does it now? Wouldn't miss it for the world, Emma," I replied, maintaining my composure. "You look beautiful. Really." Her smile widened, a glint of something, almost pity, in her eyes. Crazy how life works, huh? I found a man who actually has ambition, someone who knows how to seize opportunities. There it was, the jab, the not-so-subtle reminder of my perceived failures. I just chuckled, taking another sip of champagne. Life has a funny way of working out, doesn't it? Later, during the speeches, Emma's father gave a rambling, sentimental tribute to his wonderful daughter and her amazing husband. Then Ryan took the mic, stumbling over his words as he professed his undying love for Emma. It was also predictable, so boring. But then came Emma's turn, and predictably, she couldn't resist taking another shot. "I just want to thank everyone for being here," she began, her voice ringing with confidence. "Especially those who doubted us, those who thought we wouldn't make it, those who thought I couldn't find a man who was worthy of me." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the room, landing briefly on me. "Well, look at us now. We're married, we're successful, and we're just getting started. Ryan is going places, unlike some people." The crowd roared with applause. Emma beamed, basking in the adulation. I just smiled, a slow, deliberate smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "Oh, Emma," I thought, "you have no idea how right you are. Ryan is going places, just not the places you think he's going." The wedding cake was cut, the first dance was danced, and the party raged on. But beneath the surface of the celebratory atmosphere, the gears of my plan were turning. Ryan was being promoted. He'll soon be drowned in debt and responsibilities that he could not possibly deliver. I'll just be sitting back, sipping my champagne, and watching the fireworks. The best part? They still didn't suspect a thing. They thought they were winning. They thought they were in control. But they were wrong. So very, very wrong. And in the end, it was the irony that will be the best thing out of it. Because for all of their success, they will ultimately be doomed, and they will never be the same again. And all of the power, the money, and the fame will not save them. My office, a monument to understated power, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a minimalist design that screamed, "I'm successful without trying," and a collection of modern art that probably cost more than Ryan would earn in his lifetime. It was my domain, and everyone knew it. The board meeting was a carefully orchestrated charade. The usual suspects droned on about quarterly projections, market trends, and synergy, blah, blah, blah. I listened with half an ear, my mind already 3 steps ahead. The key to a successful manipulation, I've learned, is to make people think it's their idea. "We need someone to head up the new marketing initiative," I announced, casually tossing the grenade into the room. "Someone with vision. Someone who can really connect with the target demographic." A few eager hands shot up, the usual suspects vying for my attention, but I already had my target locked. "Ryan," I said, turning to him with a disarming smile, "you've shown real promise in your previous roles, a knack for understanding the consumer. What are your thoughts?" Ryan, bless his heart, nearly choked on his water. He stammered for a moment, his eyes widening in surprise. "Well, I hadn't really thought about it, Mr. Reed, but I'm always up for a challenge." Perfect. The ego had been baited. I leaned back in my chair, steepling my fingers. "I've been impressed with your work ethic, Ryan. Your ambition. I think you have what it takes to really excel in this position. It would be a significant step up, of course. More responsibility, more pressure." "I can handle it," Ryan interjected, his voice brimming with newfound confidence. "I'm ready for anything." The room murmured with polite approval. I caught a few envious glances, a few raised eyebrows. They were starting to get the picture. "Excellent," I said, sealing the deal with a nod. "Consider it done. We'll announce it officially next week. Congratulations, Ryan." The corporate environment thrived on this kind of thing. Calculated moves, power plays disguised as opportunities. I was just playing the game, albeit with a much grander endgame in mind. The office party was another carefully staged event. A sea of smiling faces, forced laughter, and awkward dance moves. Ryan was the star of the show, basking in the attention, his chest puffed out like a proud peacock. "Mr. Reed, I can't thank you enough for this opportunity," he gushed, grabbing my hand and shaking it vigorously. "I won't let you down." "I know you won't, Ryan," I said, my smile razor sharp. Just keep that ambition burning bright. Later, I overheard Emma bragging to a group of colleagues. I always knew Ryan had it in him. He's so smart, so driven. This is just the beginning for him. Oh, honey, I thought. You have no idea how right you are. The promotion was a chess move, a calculated sacrifice designed to isolate Ryan and expose his weaknesses. It wasn't about rewarding him. It was about setting him up for a spectacular fall. The beauty of it all was that no one suspected a thing. They saw a generous CEO recognizing talent. They saw a loyal employee climbing the corporate ladder. They didn't see the intricate trap being laid, the subtle manipulations, the carefully orchestrated downfall. They didn't see the revenge being served, ice cold and impeccably presented. But they would. Oh yes, they would. And once the dust settled, only one person would remain at the very top. And that was Daniel Reed. But enough from me for now. Things will look more amusing from Ryan's point of view. The corner office. It was everything I'd ever dreamed of. Bigger desk, better view, a goddamn Keurig machine that actually worked. But the shine wore off pretty quickly, let me tell you. The pressure was insane. Marketing initiative? More like a marketing minefield. I was drowning in data, spreadsheets, and jargon that I barely understood. Meetings with the creative team felt like I was trying to decipher ancient hieroglyphics. I was used to managing a small team, not spearheading a multi-million-dollar campaign. Late nights became the norm. Pizza boxes littered my desk. Energy drinks fueled my increasingly erratic thoughts, and the bags under my eyes were big enough to carry groceries. Emma kept asking if I was okay, if I needed to slow down, but I couldn't. I had to prove myself, to Daniel, to Emma, to myself. The worst part was, I didn't know who to ask for help. I was surrounded by people who were smarter, more experienced, and frankly probably resented my sudden promotion. Admitting I was struggling felt like admitting I was a fraud. And I couldn't let that happen. I was on top of the world and was not going to fall down because I wasn't as qualified for the job as I was supposed to be. Daniel was distant. He'd pop into my office occasionally, ask a few probing questions, offer a vague platitude about thinking outside the box, and then disappear back into his executive lair. He was deliberately vague, like he wanted me to fail or sink deep enough to where I can no longer produce any sort of support for the company. It was as if he was seeing how I could handle the responsibility, as if he knew from the start that I was not qualified for the job. He wasn't offering any real guidance, which was starting to freak me out. Was this some kind of test? Was he waiting for me to screw up so he could swoop in and fire me? The thought kept me up at night, fueling my anxiety and making it even harder to focus. The mistakes started small. A missed deadline, a budget overrun, a social media campaign that bombed spectacularly. But they were adding up. The higher-ups were starting to notice. I could feel their eyes on me, their whispers growing louder. One particular meeting with the finance team was a complete disaster. I'd misread a crucial report, leading to a disastrous misallocation of funds. Millions of dollars, gone. The look on the CFO's face was enough to curdle milk. "Ryan," she said, her voice ice cold. "Can you explain this?" I stammered, trying to justify my mistake, but the words came out jumbled and incoherent. I knew I was digging myself a hole, but I couldn't stop. I thought, "You thought what, Ryan?" she snapped. The silence in the room was deafening. All eyes were on me. I could feel the sweat trickling down my back. That night, I went home and had a full-blown panic attack. I couldn't breathe, my heart was racing, and I was convinced I was going to die. Emma tried to calm me down, but I just pushed her away. I couldn't let her see me like this, broken and pathetic. I was losing it. I was failing. And I knew, deep down, that it was only a matter of time before the whole thing came crashing down around me. I could feel my world crumble around me with no way to escape or change what has already been done. Daniel had set me up. I didn't know why or what I'd done to deserve it, but I knew he was behind it all. And the worst part was, I was too stupid to see it coming. But I didn't want to believe it. I can only hope that none of this were true and that I could still make him and Emma proud. I was trapped. I was drowning. And there was no one to save me. So I guess I'll be prepared for what was about to come, because I knew that my downfall was already set into motion. I can only hope that things will get better from here. The power couple facade was starting to chip. It was subtle at first, a forced smile at a company event, a terse exchange during a group dinner. But I was watching closely, and I liked what I saw. Their meticulously curated Instagram feed was still full of smiling photos and gushing captions, but even those couldn't hide the strain. The hashtags were getting increasingly desperate. Hash blessed, hash making it work, hash love my life. Translation SOS. I saw them at Sarah's birthday party. Emma, dressed to the nines, clinging to Ryan's arm like a life raft. Ryan, looking haggard and distracted, his eyes darting around the room as if he expected Daniel to jump out from behind the ficus tree and fire him on the spot. He's been working so hard, Emma told Sarah, her voice a little too loud, a little too insistent. Burning the midnight oil, you know, but it'll all be worth it in the end. Ryan just mumbled something about closing deals and synergy, then excused himself to grab another beer. Or 3. I saw him later, huddled in a corner, talking in hushed tones on his phone, probably trying to put out another corporate fire. The cracks were even more evident at their apartment. I accidentally ran into them while I was casually looking for a new investment opportunity near their place. The atmosphere was thick enough to cut with a knife. Emma was pacing the living room, ranting about something or other. Ryan sat slumped on the couch, staring blankly at the television. I just don't understand why you're working so hard, I overheard Emma saying, her voice sharp. We never see each other anymore. What's the point of all this ambition if we can't even enjoy it? Ryan sighed, running a hand through his already disheveled hair. I'm doing this for us, Emma, for our future. Don't you get it? No, Ryan, I don't get it, she snapped. I thought we were building a life together, not a career for you to obsess over while I sit here alone. The argument escalated from there. Accusations were hurled, past grievances were dredged up, and the carefully constructed illusion of marital bliss shattered into a million pieces. I couldn't hear the specifics, but the tone was enough. Resentment, frustration, and a healthy dose of good old-fashioned marital despair. I slipped away unnoticed, a smug smile playing on my lips. It was all unfolding exactly as planned. The pressure was building, the cracks were widening, and the whole damn thing was about to collapse under its own weight. It was only a matter of time before Emma turned on Ryan. Her ambition was a double-edged sword. It had driven her to seek out success, but it also made her incredibly impatient. And Ryan, bless his heart, was quickly becoming a liability. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. But then I remembered Emma's laughter, her cruel words, and the humiliation I'd endured, and the sympathy evaporated. This was more than just revenge. It was a demonstration, a carefully crafted lesson about the true value of loyalty, honesty, and, perhaps most importantly, not underestimating Daniel Reed. I went to my car, started the engine, and drove away, leaving Emma and Ryan to their crumbling paradise. I knew that they could fix it themselves, that they were bound to fail, because I was the one in control, and I had long decided that they will suffer the consequences of their actions. The rebirth of their marriage has come to an end, and they will eventually find out that I am the one who has been playing with their emotions and dreams all along. I am feeling somewhat happy about it. I do not know why, though. My office. Again. But this time, the atmosphere was different. The subtle scent of power had been replaced by the pungent odor of impending doom. Ryan sat across from me, fidgeting in his chair, his face a mask of nervous anticipation. I'd summoned him under the pretense of a performance review. A formality, really. The decision had been made weeks ago. The paperwork was already signed. The only thing left was the execution. Ryan, I began, my voice calm and controlled. We need to talk. He swallowed hard, his eyes darting towards the window. Is everything okay, Mr. Reed? Frankly, no, I replied, leaning forward. The marketing initiative. It hasn't been performing as expected. The numbers are down, morale is low, and, frankly, I'm losing faith in your ability to lead this project. I knew I was twisting the knife. I knew I was watching the light die in his eyes, but I couldn't stop. Not now. Not after everything. I I know things haven't been great lately, Ryan stammered. But I'm working as hard as I can. I'm putting in the hours. I'm trying to learn. I just need more time. Time is a luxury we can't afford, Ryan, I said, my voice hardening. This isn't a charity. It's a business. And right now, you're costing us money. I paused, letting the words sink in. I'm afraid I have no choice. We're going to have to let you go. The words hit him like a physical blow. He recoiled in his chair, his face turning white. What? You're firing me? But I need this job. I have a wife, a mortgage. What am I going to do? That's not my concern, Ryan, I said, my voice devoid of empathy. We'll provide you with a severance package, of course. HR will explain the details. But this isn't fair, he pleaded. I haven't done anything wrong. I made a few mistakes, sure, but everyone makes mistakes. I can fix this, I promise, just give me another chance. I'm sorry, Ryan, I said, rising from my chair. My decision is final. I gestured towards the door. HR is waiting for you. They'll escort you to your office to collect your belongings. He stared at me, his eyes filled with desperation and betrayal. You set me up, didn't you? You knew I couldn't handle this job. You wanted me to fail. I just shrugged, a cold, almost dismissive gesture. Perhaps you were overestimating your own abilities, Ryan. Some people are just not cut out for management. He stood up, his fists clenched. I thought we were friends, Daniel. I thought you were trying to help me. Friendship is a luxury I can't afford either, Ryan. This is business. Nothing personal, I said, as a small smile formed on my face. I have been waiting for this moment ever since the wedding, and I can't help but feel good after what I said. 2 security guards appeared at the door, their faces grim. Ryan glared at me one last time, then turned and stormed out of the office. I watched him go, feeling nothing. No guilt, no remorse, no satisfaction. Just a cold, clinical sense of completion. The deed was done. The plan was in motion, and Emma was about to learn the truth about her ambitious man. I am not sure if this is an act of rebirth or a path to a new one, but I know that I will not be satisfied until I have destroyed every ounce of happiness that she has. The front door slammed open, shaking the entire apartment. Emma jumped, startled. Ryan stood in the doorway, his face pale, his eyes wild. He looked like he'd just seen a ghost. What happened? Emma asked, her voice laced with concern. Are you okay? Ryan didn't answer. He just stood there, breathing heavily, his body trembling. Ryan, talk to me, Emma demanded, grabbing his arm. What's going on? He flinched at her touch, pulling away. I got fired, he whispered, his voice barely audible. Emma stared at him, her expression a mixture of confusion and disbelief. Fired? What are you talking about? You're doing so well. They love you at that company. Ryan sank onto the couch, burying his face in his hands. It's all a lie, Emma. Everything. What do you mean, a lie? She asked, her voice rising in panic. He took a deep breath, then looked up at her, his eyes filled with shame. Daniel fired me. He said the marketing initiative was a disaster. He said I was costing the company money. Emma stared at him, her mind struggling to process the information. Daniel, he's your boss? Ryan shook his head, his voice barely a whisper. No, Emma, he's the CEO. The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Emma's face drained of color. The CEO? But you never said anything. You always acted like Daniel was just some friend. I know, Ryan wailed. I was so ashamed. I didn't want you to think I was a loser. I wanted to impress you. Impress me? Emma screamed, her voice shaking with rage. You lied to me. You built our entire relationship on a lie. All of this success was just your attempt to impress me. I'm sorry, Emma. I just wanted you to be proud of me. I just wanted you to like the person I become. He replied with a tone of desperation, as he slowly realizes what he has done. "Proud of you?" Emma spat. "I'm disgusted with you. You're pathetic. You're a liar. And now, thanks to you, we're screwed. What are we going to do? How are we going to pay the mortgage? How are we going to live?" Ryan broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. Emma stared at him, her face a mask of horror. The carefully constructed facade of their perfect life had crumbled. The truth was out, and the consequences were about to be devastating. Emma then ran to their room and continued sobbing as she realized that what she had was all a lie. A lie so believable, it was as if the marriage was nothing but a fantasy. The intercom buzzed, shattering the morning calm. "Mr. Reed, a Miss Emma Hayes is here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment." I leaned back in my leather chair, a slow smile spreading across my face. "Send her in," I said, my voice deceptively casual. My office, a stark contrast to the cramped cubicle I used to occupy. This was a space designed to impress, to intimidate, to scream, "I've made it." The panoramic view of the city, the custom-made furniture, the original war hall hanging on the wall, it all served a purpose. And today, that purpose was to crush Emma's spirit. The door opened and she walked in. She looked different. Gone was the confident, polished woman I remembered. In her place was someone desperate, haggard, her carefully applied makeup unable to conceal the dark circles under her eyes. She was wearing a designer dress, a desperate attempt to project an image of wealth and success. But it was a hollow gesture. The dress screamed desperation, louder than any tears could. "Daniel," she said, her voice a shaky whisper, "thank you for seeing me." I gestured towards a chair. "Please sit down, Emma. What can I do for you?" She perched on the edge of the chair, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. I wanted to apologize," she said, her eyes darting around the office, taking in the opulence. "For everything. For what I said, how I acted. It was stupid. I was stupid." I raised an eyebrow, my expression carefully neutral. "Apology accepted, Emma. Is there anything else?" She hesitated, then took a deep breath. "I know things have been difficult lately. With Ryan, with everything. And I know it's probably too late, but I wanted you to know that I regret everything." She looked up at me, her eyes pleading. "We had something special, Daniel. I see that now. We could start over. We could—" I cut her off with a wave of my hand. "Stop right there, Emma. You're embarrassing yourself." Her face flushed. "What? But I thought—" "You thought what? That I was still pining for you? That I'd be willing to take you back after everything you've done?" I laughed, a cold, mirthless sound. "You flatter yourself, Emma." She tried a different tactic. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a seductive whisper. "We had something, didn't we? A connection. A spark." She reached out and touched my hand, her fingers tracing a slow circle on my skin. I recoiled as if she'd burned me. "Take your hand off me, Emma," I said, my voice hardening. "I don't remember any spark. All I remember is you laughing in my face and calling me a loser." She paled, her eyes filling with tears. "I didn't mean it, Daniel. I was young. I was foolish. I've changed. You've changed. We both deserve a second chance." I leaned back in my chair, a slow smile spreading across my face. "Second chances are for people who deserve them, Emma. And you, my dear, deserve nothing." I paused, savoring the look of devastation on her face. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a company to run. I think this conversation is done, Emma." She stood up, her face a mask of humiliation. "You're being cruel, Daniel," she whispered. "Cruel? I'm just giving you what you deserve, Emma. And in the end, what you deserve is just like the money you were trying to chase. A whole lot of nothing." Two words that would forever haunt her. "You're dismissed." As Emma stood there, defeated and pathetic, a memory flickered in my mind. The bar, the laughter, her cruel words echoing in the smoky air. I leaned forward, my voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. Do you remember that night, Emma, at O'Malley's, when I confessed my feelings for you? Her eyes widened, the realization dawning on her face. You said something that night, something I've never forgotten. I paused, letting the tension build. You said, Daniel, I don't do broke guys. You're sweet, but losers aren't my type. I watched her squirm, her face contorting with shame. I didn't mean it that way, Daniel. I was just honest, I supplied, my voice dripping with sarcasm. You were just being honest, weren't you? You wanted a man with ambition, with success, with money, and you thought you'd found that in Ryan. I stood up and walked towards the window, gazing out at the city. The funny thing is, Emma, I had all of those things back then. I just didn't flaunt them. I didn't need to. But you were too blinded by superficiality to see it. I turned back to her, my eyes hard. So, tell me, Emma, do you still not do broke guys? Because last time I checked, Ryan was unemployed and drowning in debt. And you, well, you're clinging to the remnants of a life that never really existed. Please, Daniel, don't do this, she begged, tears streaming down her face. Don't do what, Emma? Expose your shallowness? Hold you accountable for your actions? It's too late for that. You made your choices, and now you have to live with the consequences. I walked towards the door, opening it wide. Now get out of my office, Emma. I have more important things to do than listen to your pathetic apologies. She hesitated, then turned and fled, leaving me standing alone in my opulent office. I closed the door, a slow smile spreading across my face. It was over, the revenge was complete, and I, Daniel Reed, was finally free. Time passed, the dust settled, and I moved on. I sold my modest house, the one that had been my regular guy disguise. I bought a new home, a sprawling modern masterpiece overlooking the ocean. I filled it with art, with music, with laughter. I attended a charity gala surrounded by people who valued me for who I was, not for what I had. I made new friends, people who appreciated my intelligence, my humor, my genuine self. I started dating again. I met someone new, a woman named Sarah who was kind, intelligent, and compassionate. She wasn't impressed by my wealth or my power. She was drawn to my heart, my soul, the person I truly was beneath the layers of ambition and revenge. I saw Ryan and Emma a few times. They were shadows of their former selves. The spark was gone. The light in their eyes had faded. They were living a life of quiet desperation, haunted by the ghosts of their past. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no pity, no lingering resentment. They were simply irrelevant. I had achieved my revenge, but more importantly, I had achieved something far more valuable. I had reclaimed my life. I had shed the bitterness and the anger and embraced a future filled with possibility and hope. One evening, as I sat on my patio, watching the sunset with Sarah by my side, I realized something profound. The real rebirth wasn't about destroying my enemies. It was about transforming myself. It was about finding peace, forgiveness, and the courage to create a new life, free from the shackles of the past. It was about finding something more, something bigger and better than who I once was. It was about truly living in the now. I was the one who had the rebirth. I took a deep breath, feeling the warm ocean breeze on my face. I was content, I was happy, and I was finally, completely free.